I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I can ask everyone to please stand for a moment of silence. We, unfortunately, last week lost a student at Ridge Street School at the age of 13 who lost her battle with cystic fibrosis. So I asked us to keep her in her memory, Dominique Garcia, and her family, so I asked a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Arnold. Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Ms. King.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Pintor. Mr. Rivera.
Present.
Ms. Romero.
Here.
Ms. Davis-Spade.
Present.
Ms. White.
Thank you. We will now swear in our student representative who's been appointed to this board, and I ask Ms. Polak to swear him in. Matthew, if you can step up front.
Want to raise your right hand, put your other hand on the Bible. I, Mateus Baptista,
I, Mateus Baptista,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I, Mateus Baptista,
I, Mateus Baptista,
will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform
perform
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
We want to welcome Matthew to the board. I know Matthew will do a good job representing the entire school district. I know there's some of his classmates here from Science Park. We want to recognize the students here at Science Park. We want to commend Matthew for his commitment to our district, and we look forward to working with him. I want to have greetings from principal here at Science Park, Mr. Lamont Thomas. Mr. Thomas. All right.
Good evening and welcome to Science Park High School. I bring you greetings on behalf of the students and staff members that I serve. As you are aware, each school year begins with a sense of urgency and concern. This school year is no different. Your attendance is an indicator to me that you understand the concerns about the urgency to which the work of the district must be done. The one request that I have, whatever your role may be, is that you continue to use the student as a point of reference in all that you do. Again, on behalf of the students and staff, welcome. I would like to bring to the podium my PTSO president, Ms. Deborah Coy.
Greetings, everyone. Dr. Janey, Advisory Board, welcome. This is certainly a good omen that the first official meeting is being hosted by Science Park, so we're very proud about that. Thank you. Dr. Janey and Advisory Board and parents, I'm very encouraged with the new initiatives that the district has put forth, and certainly Science Park as a family, we support the district initiatives. I was especially moved at the change in the school calendar, which incorporates more instructional days. I think that's an immediate change that all parents can agree is a positive change. Generally, it supports the model that achievement should be the constant and time should be the variable. So changing the schedule supports that model. Science Park is anxious to support the initiatives that are coming down the pipeline. Certainly, Science Park has some individual initiatives that we want parents to support with respect to the uniform initiative, with respect to attendance at Science Park, with respect to anything that promotes student engagement and parent involvement. So certainly we're behind those initiatives. Excuse me, I thank you so much for your time. You're going to be favored with a selection from the Science Park Chorus, and it's directed by Mr. Allgood.
thank Mr. Thomas for that warm welcome. We want to wish you the very best of luck in your new position here as interim principal at Science Park. We hope to take the interim part off of that title, and hopefully you'll become the new leader at Science Park in the near future. I want to wish you the very best of luck. To Ms. McCoy, I want to thank you for that warm welcome. I want to thank you for being such a big part of here, Science Park parents, leadership here, and I want to thank you for not only representing Science Park, but representing this entire district. So thank you, Ms. McCoy. And to the Science Park chorus, thank you for that musical selection. Board members, we will move now to report approval of minutes. We have August 11th board business meeting and August 18th regular board meeting. If I can have a motion and a second to move them. Moved by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Rivera. Roll call, approval of minutes.
Mr. Arnold? Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King? Yes. Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spite?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we have a report from our district superintendent, Dr. Janey.
Thank you, President Gonzalez, members of the Board of Education, and especially our new student leader. And as he represents students throughout the district, we're reminded that leadership does not have to come by a certain point in time in your life. Leadership can come about when you're in high school, and certainly can come about when you're younger in your earlier grades, but he has done a fine job. I met him formally as a member of the School Leadership Council here at Science Park High School. He was very interested, as all were interested in knowing who would become its next principal. I saw his leadership during that meeting. He pointed out the types of qualities that he thought students would like to see and would need to see in their new principal. He shared quite frankly and quite professionally his points of views as they represented the student body here at Science Park High School. So I too want to go on record to acknowledge the work he has done so far and the vision he has set forth for students across the district as one of its student leaders. Tonight we have some other student leaders we'd like to acknowledge. It's important that we continue to lift up and make present the leadership that's being demonstrated by our students. Tonight we have a number of student leaders who have performed well academically on the New Jersey assessment. It doesn't come about merely by studying. It doesn't come about merely by doing what is expected of one and expected by one's parents and teachers and school staff. It comes about because the individual student made some very wise choices about where they'd like to be later on in life, and this sets the pathway and the road towards those kinds of opportunities. So the students who will be coming before you are particularly a select group, an interesting group of students, because their combined average on the New Jersey assessment, their combined average exceeded 280. 300 is the very top score. That's a perfect score. 100 is the very bottom of that scale. So we're trying to give recognition to students who might not have been perfect, and nobody is perfect per se, but the students who really did an outstanding performance on the New Jersey Ask. And if they were in college, they would be in the upper echelon of the dean's list. And so I'd like to call upon our young deans to come before us by school. Mr. Gonzalez. So first among us would be our grade 3 students from Mount Vernon School. Would you come forward, please? Is a school representative here? Is the principal here? I thought...
Yeah, Ms. Dyer is here.
Ms. Dyer is in the back.
Ms. Dyer is here. Would you come forward, please? Let's welcome Ms. Dyer. Now, when a principal gets a chance to hold a microphone and have all the bragging rights of several of her students who represent many, many others, we cannot at all mute her voice. So we would welcome her to make points about the grade 3 students, one of whom had an average score, reading and mathematics combined, and taking the average of 282, just 18 points away from having a perfect score.
Good evening, everyone. And of course, we're just delighted that our students did so well. Our one disappointment is that we didn't have more. That's one of the things we're working really hard to do this year, to see that we have more students who do well. For all of our students from the 39 countries that we have and the 31 different languages, they bring so much in diversity. They bring so much in ambitions and dreams and hopes for the future. We're awfully proud of each and every one of them. Thank you.
Are there 2 students here?
All of our students are here. So if I would ask them to come forward at this time.
That's fine. We'd welcome.
In the back. I have 2 students in the back. Takia, where are you? Takia, come over here, please. And my last student in the back. Okay, these are our 4 fantastic young ladies. Unfortunately, we don't see any guys. We plan to rectify that because we should have some male representation also.
And if any family members are here, would you ask them to stand, please?
Would all family members of students please stand? Parents in the back, would you come down for the picture, please? I'll have each student introduce herself.
My name is Leonie Terracina.
Grade? Grade?
Oh, I'm in 4th grade now.
My name is Warida Binatia. I'm in 4th grade.
My name is Takia Bethea, and I'm in 7th grade.
My name is Jocelyn Alvarado, and I'm in 6th grade. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Would the following schools come forward? Ann Street, again, Mount Vernon for grade 5, Ann Street for grade 4, Luis Munoz Marin for grade 5, Wilson Avenue, and Newton Street for grade 5. Would you all come forward, please? Grades 4 and 5. These students averaged above 280 in their combined score, mathematics and English language arts, on the New Jersey Ask. We should be mindful that the New Jersey Ask is ever increasing the rigor in the assessments. So while you may see some slippage in the overall performance of students in Newark, here are some students before you showing us really the power of an example of how we do the work together between school and homes. Would you step forward, Madam Principal?
Yes. Good evening, Dr. Janey, advisory board members. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce the students to you from Ann Street School that have achieved this honor. We have two with us tonight. Sky Ferreira. Sky is currently in the 5th grade, so this is based on his performance as a 4th grader. And we have Philippe Costa. Philippe is currently in high school, so this is based on his New Jersey Ask 8 performance. We have one other student from Ann Street School, Jennifer Ciaba, but she could not be present tonight. And, oh, Jennifer, I'm sorry. I didn't see you, I'm sorry. This is Jennifer Ciaba. She's currently in the 7th grade, so this is based on her 6th grade performance. And before I forget, I just want to congratulate Mateus because he's a product of Ann Street School. So congratulations to you. And I'd like Sky to come to the microphone and say a little something for you.
Hello, my name is Sky Ferreira, and I'm in the 5th grade at Ann Street School.
My name is Jennifer Ciaba. I'm currently in the 7th grade in Ann Street School.
My name is Philip Costa, and I'm currently in 9th grade in Norfolk Preparatory School.
One thing I can tell you about all 3 children is that they really take advantage of the opportunity to take a book to bed every night and read it. They're very well read, and it certainly does influence their performance on the tests. So I'm very proud of them. Congratulations, and to the parents.
Ms. Hernandez, if you can. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very proud to introduce 2 of my 5th grade students who are here tonight because they achieved the highest combined score in both language arts and math. They're 2 high achievers who not only put forth a lot of effort in their academics, but also in the arts and in sports. We're very proud of them, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves to you.
I'm Brian Drusiak. I'm in 6th grade, currently in Wilson Avenue School. Hi, my name is Bruno Fernandez. I'm in 6th grade and I attend Wilson Avenue School.
I'd also like to thank the parents because without their efforts and support, we wouldn't be here tonight, along with their teachers. Thank you.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
is Paulo here?
Yes, he is. I also have an 8th grade. I have 5 students altogether. Do you want me to bring them?
Yes, bring them all up.
Will
That
the
would be
Wilson Avenue
fine.
School students please come up?
So you can get a family picture.
My name is Paulo Pinto. I'm in 8th grade and I attend Wilson Avenue School.
Paulo, stay at the mic for a minute. Is the rumor true that you scored a perfect 300 on both mathematics and English language arts?
Yes.
I'm Adriana Dirasende. I'm at 8th grade at Wilson Avenue School.
How do I talk my facing this way? The audience is that way. Just us. Hi, I'm Lucas Schreier. I'm a student at Science Park, and I used to go to Wilson last year. Hi.
He was valedictorian of our class last year. That's why he's here. Excuse me, salutatorian. With high honors. Miss Marks, would you like?
Brian.
There's a vice principal for Wilson. Now, did you see Miss Marshall?
I'm looking for her now. I don't see her.
Or maybe if we can see the kids here.
Yeah, their parents were bringing them to me, so we didn't transfer. But I don't see some. I don't know the VPs for me. It's not back there.
Ms. Merritt, does that cover all of the schools, or did we miss any? While the picture's being taken.
We actually have Newton Street School. Mr. Principal Carlos, are you here? Okay, she's not here. And Science, Michael Barrett. Okay. And Lafayette, Kevin Marcolino. And you have 2 more. Science Park, Lafayette, and Newton.
Would you make your way over to the microphone to my right as they are exiting? Mr. Thomas, would you do the honors, please?
Sure. Good evening again. Dr. Janey, Advisory Board, it gives me great pleasure. I've been at Science Park for a brief moment, and all of the compliments that I've gotten from Michael Barrett far exceeds anything that I've expected. This young man has scored well on the standardized test scores, but additionally his behavior, and overall he's just a model student, an exceptional student. Michael, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Michael Barrett from Science High. And by the way, I'd like to thank you for taking time out to acknowledge our success.
Hi, I'm Kevin Marcolino. I'm currently in the 9th grade at Science Park High School. Thank you.
It's okay.
Ms. Bergamato, is a student from Lafayette here now? Oh, he left Lafayette. Now he's in science. I see. Okay, let's have one more round of applause for our high achievers. As an important footnote, students on average who are represented here this evening and other students who did well on the ASK typically read third and fourth grade, are reading from 30 to 40 books a year on average. And as they go into the upper grades of their elementary years, they're reading 50, 60 books a year. So this does not come by way of just born with intelligence. One is actually applying their knowledge on a regular basis, reading, communicating through writing, and through language, their accomplishments. I'd like to give you a brief report and then close out on the opening of school. And I'd like to start with our new Executive Director of Human Resource Services. As you know, one of the pillars to leverage a successful opening is to make sure each of our classrooms has the presence and forbearance of a professional who will be taking each of our students into consideration as they prepare lesson plans in the context of units, lesson plans over a period of time, 2 or 3 weeks, and they are assuring that each student has value, has meaning, has importance in the plan as the plan is being implemented. But that first starts with how we staff our schools. So I'm going to ask Dr. Miller to provide you with some information about what we intended to do and what we, in fact, were able to do in the opening of school this year as compared to last year. Dr. Ann Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Janey. It is an absolute delight to be part of your staff and work with Newark Public Schools. I came July 1st and learned that as with many HR departments in many school districts, surveys from employees and audits from outside organizations that had been conducted had given human resources some opportunities for improvement. And this was not surprising because it's been a wake-up call for a lot of human resources groups across the country. What's been missing, experts say, are broad, thoughtful strategies that link the major components of school districts' personnel systems, and that is recruitment, hiring, placement, induction, professional development, evaluation, compensation, and termination. They fail to link those together, and they fail to link them to the bottom line, which is goals for students. That is often called the strategic management of human capital. So in July, what we did was we took a look at those major components and we started to weave them into the organization. One of the things that we did to increase teaching quality was we let principals have the responsibility for hiring their own teachers, and with HRS providing human resource services, providing screened resumes and also interviewing instructions. In August, we created a new role in HR. We took 4 of our people and we called them regional partners, HR regional partners, and they are functioning out in each of our 4 regions as a one-stop shop for human resources so that teachers and principals don't have to drive down to two-seater and park and come up to the 8th floor to get their HR human resource needs met. And I believe that we have at least one of them in the audience tonight. LaMonica, you could raise your hand and wave it. LaMonica serves the West region. Did I miss any? Are there any other HR partners here? I haven't seen them. And the feedback on this particular change has just been phenomenal. We're also working with the Office of Academic Services and their education and training group. We have created an RFP that we hope will be posted soon for web-based individualized training and development systems. This is going to help increase the learning that our teachers and principals engage in, and will also help us keep good record keeping. So it's going to increase efficiency and effectiveness. In September, at Dr. Janey's suggestion on the first day of school, we set up a phone bank, and after school in the evening, a number of us, including 2 board members, Dr. Janey and Ms. White, and several staff members, we called new teachers, and we got hold of 71 of them. And it was just thrilling to hear what they thought of their first day, and the thing that they loved most about it was engaging with the students. But they also cited how thrilled they were with their new colleagues, the teachers in the buildings. They felt well supported, and so that was great to hear. And we're going to be following up with those teachers throughout the year just to see how things are going. Another thing that we are doing in September and actually rolling out formally tomorrow is we have reorganized the Human Resource Group to align those key processes that I mentioned at the beginning. We have combined our recruitment groups so that we can leverage the instructional and the non-instructional side. We have talked with the Office of Academic Services, and we are moving the people in our training group into theirs so that they can also leverage each other's work and eliminate some redundancy. We're creating a new group called Employee Information, and that group will be largely focused on technology and managing all the information of our employees. And we have changed our benefits group to compensation and benefits to assure that we are way out on the leading edge as far as employee welfare and retention goes. We are also creating some key metrics so that we can measure the important work that we're doing and constantly identify improvement opportunities. So that is it in a nutshell. I should also add that included in the notes for the meeting tonight are the personnel actions that took place over the summer. It's a very high number, 831 total, 640 were instructional and 191 non-instructional. That's due in large part to summer school, of course. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. The next 2 parts of my report have to do with curriculum and instruction, and finally, a couple of introductions and thank yous. I'd like our new Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Sadia White, to give some attention to how we plan for the opening of schools this year by having all of our schools start instruction on the very first day and as close to the time of 8:45 as possible for our pre-K to 8 and our K to 8 schools, and just a little earlier for our high schools. I should inform the public that we also are taking into consideration how we should change what our students are expected to know across the city and across each of our schools as we have been staffing them accordingly, what they should know in terms of the content areas in English and mathematics and science and social studies, in the arts, plural, and physical education, as well as health and technology. I was informed most recently that as we are going through this work, we need to update our curriculum so that it is timely and relevant to that which students are expected to perform on the state assessments. So I'm going to ask Mr. Leon to come forward, our new Deputy Chief Academic Officer, who has discovered that our social studies and history content area curriculum hasn't been updated since 1999. And I think a lot of things have changed in the world, if not within this country, since 1999. And he is a part of a team that's leading that work. So I'm going to call on Chief Academic Officer White, and Mr. Leon, would you come forward, maybe the microphone closest to you, and I'm going to ask Ms. White to share how we prepared for this school year to make a point that the 5 extra days that we have for instruction won't mean much if we're not in school. It won't mean much if we haven't organized our work in a way that makes sense for our teachers and certainly will be welcomed by our students. Ms. White.
Thank you, Dr. Janey. Good evening, board members and members of the community. I would like to share with you briefly and then also turn the mic over to our Deputy Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Leon, what we did this year to prepare for the first day of school. It started with an aligned, uniform presentation that principals would then to turnkey to our teachers on the first day that they reported back, that outlined, first of all, what we expected in every classroom, which was a uniform, consistent learning objective with its components, and the first 10 days of school with a unit plan with daily mini lesson plans up to the 10th day, so that we started with content instruction on the first day. To support the schools, we deployed our resource teacher coordinators to the schools to offer support and expertise, and they stayed in the schools up until September 17th, and they provided consultative visits. We made sure that the schools were supported in this effort to ensure that teachers felt the support they needed to be ready for students. This time I will turn it over to Mr. Leon, and who will talk about the unit plans and also the lesson plan, the lesson objective.
Good evening, Superintendent, Advisory Board Chairman, to the Advisory Board, and to all of the members that are in the audience. The Superintendent spoke about something which is at the heart of the work that we're doing on the 9th floor. The 9th floor used to be divided into a number of distinguishing separate offices. We have charged the 9th floor as the departments that they are in the offices of academic services. From those of you who are familiar with the 9th floor, from one end that used to be called educational services to the other end called teaching and learning, and throughout it a number of support services offices, to the actual departments in which they are going to be charged to address some important issues. One of them is the one that the superintendent raised. In 2004, a number of organizations contributing to the work of that established the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards was in fact the benchmark area that launched a lot of the curriculum that is in the Newark Public Schools today in 2004. There is work that occurred prior to 2004 in the area of curriculum, in particular the area of social studies, that obviously is very outdated today. The work that that department and those respective departments in the Office of Academic Services that will focus on the instructional program, what they will do is to begin to conduct a gap analysis. In the state of New Jersey, the State Board of Education has created new graduation requirements. There are 120 credits in which a student in any high school, public high school, in New Jersey would need to complete in order to graduate. That's different from last year, where the requirement was a minimum of 110. One of the things that we will do is we will focus on the work as it relates to graduation requirements. We will focus on the promotion and retention policies that the district has. We will focus on the grading policy that the district has. And we're going to first do all of that work by taking a look at the report card as it is right now. So we're doing a number of things. As it relates to curriculum, we're going to conduct a gap analysis during the next couple of months to really assess the curriculum that we have right now. We understand what results it's providing us in our schools. Our student achievement is not indicative of having an entire audience filled of students like the incredible young ladies and gentlemen that we were able to honor today. The charge would be to create a curriculum that is not equal to New Jersey standards. Those are the minimum. We have national and international standards that we will have our students compete against and definitely demonstrate excellence, because our expectation would be nothing less than that. So we have some work cut out for us. There are going to be opportunities for members of the community, parents, students, teachers, school leaders, advisory board members, colleges and universities throughout New Jersey in particular and beyond, to provide us with technical assistance and support to do the work, to do the good work for our students.
Thank you, Mr. Leon.
In wrapping up, a couple of introductions with one anchor to those introductions, a new ombudsperson who will be sharing with you some of the work she'll be doing on behalf of parents and members of our communities here in Newark. But to my right is our new interim business administrator. As you probably are aware by now, Mr. Ronald Lee has assumed the superintendency in Orange, New Jersey. He has been succeeded by the assistant business administrator, who now is acting on an interim basis, Ms. Valerie Wilson, to my right. Please welcome her. And to Mr. Gonzalez's left, our new general counsel. She succeeds the interim general counsel who served all of our interests well. Would Arson, I think, would you stand and be acknowledged, please? Thank you for your work. He's followed by our new general counsel, Attorney Lisa Pollock. And finally, by way of introduction and brief remarks, our ombudsperson, who is Nancy Daring, who has served in that role previous to accepting this assignment. She is from New Jersey, and she comes to us with high marks from the ombuds role in other organizations. Nancy.
Thank you, Dr. Janey. I come with more than 25 years experience in learning and development, coaching and counseling, and conflict resolution. And one of the things that I'm excited about is the opportunity to work with parents and bridging communication gaps between parents and administrators and parents. And the role, sorry, I'm at a loss for words, which is unusual. But the office is built on 4 principles quickly: confidentiality, neutrality, informality, and independence. And even though I am an employee of Newark Public Schools, my role is to be objective. And that's what I look forward to, working with all of you in that end.
That closes out the report for this month, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Janey. Now at this time, we'll have a report from our new appointed student representative, Matthew Batista.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. Janey, the board, and community members. I would like to thank Dr. Janey and the board for their warm welcome. I'm excited to start this new year with the advisory board. I have been elected by students, for those who don't know the election process, from students from every high school and from student leaders of every high school. And so that reminds me that I'm here to represent every single high school. And so I'm looking forward to working with these student leaders, to working with these schools so that we can have representation on behalf of the students on the advisory board. And I look forward to working with this board so that we can take the next step in having student involvement, not only in the schools, but also in the district policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Batista. Now board members will move to the voting section of our agenda. We have 4 educational service items. If there's no questions coming out of this issue, if we can move forward as a package as a whole. Mr. Arnold, did we review? Out of your committee, did you review the items before us?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions came out of that committee?
None.
Okay, being no questions that came out of that committee, if we can take this package as a whole, have a motion to move the package as a whole. Moved by Mr. Rivera, second by Ms. Romero. Move items 1 through 4 as a package. Roll call.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spade?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Now we'll move, same mover and second to take a roll call to approve the items. Roll call. Same mover and second. Mr. Romero and Mr. Rivera.
Okay.
Roll call.
Okay. Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spade?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Now we'll move to finance. And I'll ask Ms. Pintor and her committee, did anything come out of finance?
No.
Okay. If we can have a motion and second to move these packages as a whole. Moved by Ms. Pintor, second by Ms. King. Take the package as a whole. Roll call.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pinter?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spade?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Same mover and second. Roll call for a vote. Roll call.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Pintor?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Davis-Spade?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Thank you. We will now move to public participation. I'll turn it over to Ms. Polak. Okay. Before we move to public participation, we are going to recognize some outstanding parents that are here with us today, and I would turn it over to Ms. King. If we can have two board members go down to make those presentations.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much. First, I want to take this opportunity to welcome the new school student representative to the board. And also, I want to congratulate the students who were recognized for doing a good job in school. But we know none of these things could happen if we do not have parent and community participation. So the Newark Public Schools Advisory Board Community Relations Committee wishes to recognize parents who are making a difference in the lives of our students as individuals and in our district as a whole. With approximately 40,000 students in the Newark Public Schools District, there must be many, many exemplary parents. This parent recognition program, which began in 2004, will continue to shine the spotlight on those who support the district's 6-point parental involvement model, which consists of parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision-making, and community involvement. We are pleased to recognize one parent from each region at each advisory board meeting this year. The parents were nominated by their children's principal. Tonight's Parents Recognition Award recipients are, from the Central East Region, Zelia Oliveira from Oliver Street School. From the West Region, Natasha Akiyele, Harriet Tubman School. From the North Region, Beatrice Halangwa from McKinley. From the South Region, Kenneth Chuck Benefield from Avon Avenue School. Congratulations to all of you.
Can we have the administrators come up front for the photo? Administrators from Harriet Tubman, McKinley, Oliver, Avon. Thank you.
Excuse me. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Cheney, and thank you to Ms. Golden for having that open door policy. And I want to thank you for sticking to the uniform policy. You have made my mornings a blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Again, to all the parents that are being recognized today, thank you for your service to your respective school. We will now move to public participation.
Okay. I'd just like to go over a few of the guidelines. Individuals and organizations must register with the superintendent's office in writing by 4 p.m. 5 calendar days prior to the meeting, giving his/her name, address, telephone number, and a detailed description of the subject to be addressed. Written communication should be directed to the Office of the State District Superintendent, Newark Public Schools, 2 Cedar Street, Newark, New Jersey. Time limits for all speakers will be enforced. There will be no sharing or granting of speaking time to others. Speakers must be present when their name is called. All speakers will be required to give their names and addresses. We expect speakers to observe standards of decorum, and examples of unacceptable behavior that will not be permitted include, but aren't limited to, engaging in personal attacks, slurs, excessive loudness, calling out, yelling, or generally disruptive behavior, and attempts to disrupt meetings or incite others to do so. The State District Superintendent or Advisory Board Chairperson may interrupt any speaker or terminate any individual's speaking privilege if the speaker's comments are disruptive, obscene, or otherwise in violation of law. An individual may be cautioned that a personally directed statement may be slanderous or defaming, and that the individual may be liable for his or her statements. Any individual or group that does not follow these procedures may be asked to leave the meeting. If necessary, the advisory board meeting will be adjourned. Thank you.
First speaker.
Eamon Brown.
Not present. Next speaker. Yeah.
Donald Jackson.
Oh, Donald's right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Donald Jackson. I live at 79 Tracy Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, 07108. Now I attend Malcolm X Shabazz High School. 3 years, and the battle continues. I've been to every board meeting since September 2006 till now. In that time, I've complained about the safety and sanitary conditions of my school ever since. And until now, nothing has happened. People come with their reports to the next board meeting the next month saying, we found no problems, we haven't found any problems with pests or sanitary issues. Well, I don't know how they can miss, or how the exterminator can miss, and the custodians can not see the dead mice, the rats that ran around the floors in the building, the flying water bugs, and the roaches. My disappointment comes to this board. Members who are on here now, some of you were on there then when I first started coming to the board meetings, and nothing has been said. Why? If we're changing hearts and minds to value education, how can this board allow the injustice to continue against our students every single day? People who failed in one school shifted to another to fail again. People who failed in one executive position switched to another executive position to save their job. I thought that the change at my school meant that this school district was finally taking the accountability that it needed to take years ago. Another thing that I need to speak about tonight is the lunch company. For 5 years, Chartwell has been in the district, and there are numerous complaints about this company. They have served our students poor qualified foods, expired foods, and poorly cooked foods. The one thing this board said was if anything happens again, we will pull the contract away from you. That sounds well and good, but that's not what we need. We need action. This company fed me, my friends, and my peers poorly cooked food, old food, and food that had too many fats and too much sodium. Now, sodium is a good thing, but if it's too much, it becomes bad. One board member said, well, if the same thing happens again, scream bloody murder. Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to scream because I'll be sick again. Another concern I have is that students are receiving the classes that they took last year again this year. Unfortunately, if they take these classes and do not go see the guidance counselor, they won't be able to graduate. This board needs to investigate that. To the student representative, you have a lot of work to do, and you should have started 2 weeks ago because all of our high schools in this district are hurting. Board members, it is time for you all to stop being silent, to come out into these schools and represent the children of North Public Schools. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Keonda White.
Next speaker.
Cassandra Dock.
Next speaker.
Veronica Williamson.
I can't even say good evening to you guys because you guys are just horrible. Just a few points.
For the record, could you give your name and address, please?
Ms. Williamson, 49th Avenue. Just a few points that I want to touch on tonight. On the North Region office, schools listed. Upon my research, schools listed in the Northern Region office, which are 18, principals 18, vice principals 34, excluding Branchbrook and Roosevelt Avenue. I'm not sure if they have a vice principal at this point, but upon my investigation, they were without. Out of the 18 principals in this region, upon my observation, 13 principals are of non-African American descent. My child attends the DD program at Broadway Elementary. On the staff there, it is only one black male lead science teacher and one black female teacher, not aide, not personal aide, in the entire building. The other teaching staff is of non-African descent. Our black children are being disserviced in the North Region. Spanish speaking and merengue music being played on lunch hours, when you walk into the nurse's office, the main office, and some other parts of the buildings. Not particularly only in Broadway Elementary, but other schools I visited. The principal from Park Elementary sending students already home during the first week of school because they didn't or couldn't afford to wear their uniforms. And there's a policy in place you guys have put in place for parents who could not afford uniforms, or if there was a situation, a parent could fill out a form where they could receive help. The principal from Louise Marin, kicking students out of the school already, particularly black students. Principal at Barrington Non-Success Academy, where is he? He doesn't even come out the main office to monitor the building. And you guys make these decisions all together, so that's why I'm disappointed in you. The former attendance counselor from Success Academy is now the VP. How disgusting. Haven't even taught in the classroom. But I do understand if you move high-performing principals to schools in need of improvement, I understand that. But to move principals who have failed AYP 5 or more years to schools that have never failed or were achieving annually is disappointing. What are you prepared to do? And I don't expect you to answer that because guess what? Ms. Williamson is back.
Next speaker.
Donna Jackson.
Good evening. Good evening. Did you just wake up?
Good morning. Okay, that's good. Just want to make sure everybody awake. How are we this evening? Board members?
Ms.
Dr.
Jackson, if you
Janey?
could put your name on the record, thank you.
Oh, Donna Jackson, 128 Smith Street.
Thank you.
Well, it's been trying, and we're still trying, but it's not working. I'm not happy. Some people are, some people aren't. We have given promotions. We have moved people. We have taken people from failing situations, put them in good situations. That's not just in one place, but it's across the board. That's unacceptable to me. When you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to see the door. It's called the pink slip, or suspension, or removal of a couple of days' pay. Dr. Janey, I love you, but I gotta say what I gotta say. It is unacceptable that over 60 trailers of trash was removed from Malcolm X Shabazz High School and nobody been fired. Unacceptable that anybody who allowed that to happen in that building, and yeah, it happened 10 years before you, but guess what? Happened on your watch too. When you did the walkthrough, you didn't see that dirt? When you said that building was never self-correcting, you didn't say never-ending garbage. To have a rat infestation and a roach infestation in that building, everybody's responsible. So here's my remedy. You get a week no pay. Ms. Dinkins gets fired. Earl gets fired, the head custodian. The exterminator ain't been in that sub-basement. Okay, easy with the names. I'll just,
thank you. You know.
Go around so you know who I'm talking about. I don't want nobody in the audience to be nervous, because I ain't talking about them. I like to be direct. But for you, Sam, who I love, you got it. Folks have to be held accountable. We're not doing that. I'm trying to understand, we now have a highly qualified aid list, but the highly qualified aid is not working. I got a problem with what's going on in that North Ward, and it better be fixed tomorrow, because I have walked in too many schools over there, and there's none of me in there. And there's kids that look like me in there. Now, my daughter, just to end it, on a positive note, so you know I'm not playing, is a highly qualified aide since 2006. If she ain't working somewhere tomorrow morning, all of y'all gonna have a problem.
Next speaker.
Lucius Jones.
Ridiculous, ridiculous.
This one, you got to bring him down?
Mr. President, I hope that my time is starting now.
It is, Mr. Jones.
Lucius Jones, United Parents Network. Seems like I would say my address is 2 Cedar Street, but I love 920 Broad Street a little bit better. My concern here tonight is it's an anniversary, years worth of work. Dr. Janey, I watched you all summer on Cablevision. Very good presentation on Cablevision. The concerns that I have is that we've done a lot of work all year long, last year to this year. And I'm proud of that work that we've done. But where I have some concern is when we talk about transparency. For a matter of fact, my topic tonight is, what is student achievement? How do we frame it? How do we recognize it? How do we know it exists? See, that's what's bothering me. After spending numerous days with kids in Foreman Mill and every other mill you can buy a student uniform at because they didn't have the money to buy it. I'm troubled when I see that we start the school year with substitutes in the classroom. I'm troubled when the response to my concern about substitutes being in the classroom at elementary school levels, that it takes a while to get it addressed, and even when you try to get it addressed, there is a level of arrogance coming from the region. I'm disappointed in that. I'm very disappointed when we tell folks that we are transparent. And let me make it clear. Last year, Superintendent, you did a job of cleaning up 2 Cedar Street, some would say. But the issue here is what's happening in the classroom. And the bothersome part to me is when I go outside my house every day and I face Ivy Elementary, and I see kids playing with milk boxes on the playground. And everyone knows that playing is a part of learning. So where's the learning in the play? You know, the troublesome part of it is that with getting up here today, you're trying to figure out, what are you going to talk about, Lucius, and is it relevant? And I was sitting at one assistant vice principal's desk, and I saw the framework, I think it's called rigor framework, but that discussion is not being held with the community and the parents to understand what is rigor framework, how do you recognize it, is it good for kids, and how do parents know that it's good for kids? I know you get paid, you know, I have to apologize. A few months ago, I got up there at budget hearing and I talked about salaries and people getting paid all this money, you know, and the new doctor of human resources says, hey, that's it in a nutshell, you know. My concern is, where is the nuts that are in the nutshell? Why, if people getting paid this money, and they're coming from Washington, D.C. and all over the place, mainly Washington, D.C. And the concern for me is, if they don't understand Newark, like Dr. Janey, you had to work through Newark and you took some punches and you gave some. But the issue here is folks coming here disgruntled, and it's making me disgruntled. I'm not sure whether or not the district is sincere about meeting the goal of student achievement. I'm not sure whether or not all the talk is real talk. I'm not sure anymore. I'm very, very fatigued when my little ones are telling me that they don't have this and they don't have this. I got a little sister who goes to a school. She's special ed. She can do math on the 4th grade level, but she's got a 9th grade math book. She don't even know multiplication. How's she gonna do algebra? So we talk about these type of scenarios, you know, and the troublesome part of me is this. You know, if I would have to give some grades, which I'll do next month, on department by department, then show you that and ask 100 parents per department, how do you feel about this area? I would love to see the results. But as we stand right now, you know, the regional is a problem. The Norfolk region, they don't even respond. They don't respond to your phone call. You get a voice, you get answering service all day long. I give the region south, is that it? I give the region south a commitment because the gentleman really tried to work.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next speaker, please.
Yvonne Moore.
Ms. Moore is not present. Next speaker.
Minister Roper.
Yeah, she's got her son back in the district with dyslexia, so we got to talk about that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Superintendent Janey, Board, President, Minister Vanessa Roper, True Deliverance Christian Life Church, 31 Halstead Street, Chairman of the Education Department. Today I'm here to talk about some issues. I happened to left my note But that's a good thing because it allows me to really say what I feel. I called Region West with some issues and some problems. I asked the assistant superintendent to call me back. I haven't received the phone call yet. Some of the issues have been addressed, but it makes me think, well, number one, as a parent, that for 10 years we argued about assistant superintendents returning phone calls, staff members returning phone calls. We're going back to the old days where the assistant superintendents don't have to return phone calls. Even if it's in regards to things that are going on in the classrooms, substitute teachers from the first day of school, he didn't feel a need to call me. And I have a problem with that. And it's a problem that needs to be addressed. The one thing I would say, at least last year, the assistant superintendent there did call, and we didn't have as many problems, even if we disagreed. And the new superintendent, assistant superintendent, seems to think that he's going to get a free ride. I gave this district last year a free ride. I didn't file one complaint with the state. I can assure you it will be a different year because I'm already making notations in regards to what this district is lacking. No continuity. I don't know what you guys in up here talking about. And I came up with a new word for you. You know, I'm not going to call you broadcasters. I'm going to call you fraudcasters. That's what you are. You're nothing. You're fraudulently trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And let me get to this point. When the beginning of this year came, I strategically told my children something. I told my children, listen, something you could we're going to take a negative situation and we're going to turn it into something positive. So I began to teach them about fertilizer and manure and dung. And I said, listen, don't just go through it and go through the usual nonsense. I don't want you to just go through this stuff. I want you to grow through this stuff because these people have no idea what they're doing. I said, listen, we're coming up with new titles, academic services. You folks are not even certified. But you're coming up with new titles to get around certain subjects and whatnot, and you want to rule with an iron hand. But your people are still not aligned. You're still not coming up with things that are going to involve parents. I told the last superintendent, you can't educate our children without. You can keep broadcasting all you want to, but I'll be back.
Next speaker.
Levon Smith.
I don't see Levon. No. Next speaker.
Maureen Robinson.
My name is Maureen Robinson, Elizabeth, New Jersey. I'm the building rep at Westside High School. This year, I had planned on just attending board meetings, sitting, listening, and cruising silently. Therefore, I am not before you this evening for me, or because I like being in front of your camera. I get plenty of quality major and cable network television airtime on a daily basis. Notwithstanding, you need to know that there are still too many hurting teachers and employees who continue to reach out to me across school and regional boundary lines because they still fear exercising their constitutionally protected right of freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and freedom of press. The administrators in their buildings do not have an open door policy without retaliatory recompense. Thus, I come to you tonight uninhibited as the voice in the wilderness that cries out for justice, equality, and fairness for those who still feel disenfranchised and for those who greatly fear adverse reprisals from mean-spirited, vindictive administrators who would victimize them by retaliating against them in one way or another, mainly by way of their evaluations, just because they spoke out about their pain and suffering and the unfair manner in which they are being treated still. They need for someone to listen to them and deal with the vicious and vindictive tentacles that have been entrenched and intertwined in this school district for decades. I strive diligently to treat people like I want to be treated. For when you do nasty and reprehensible things to people, the Bible lets you know that you reap what you sow. On the lighter side, staff would also like to know whether calendars are going to be issued to students. I was informed that last year, Westside High School did not receive any for the students. And for my own sake, I would just like to ask about the CAPA review, because it was my understanding that staff, including supervisors, were supposed to be transferred. And I want you to listen to my language that I use. I'm using the word transferred. No supervisor has been transferred out of our school. Fired, got rid of. No supervisor has been, quote, transferred out of our school. Thank you for listening.
Next speaker.
Deshaun Weston.
My name is Deshaun Weston. I live at 383 South 6th Street, Newark. I'm a graduate of Westside High School, class of 2009, and I'm currently attending Essex County College. I'm speaking out today due to my concerns about the Norfolk Public Schools Marion A. Bowden Student Center. Last year when the Student Center opened, I began going there after school to use the library and take drama classes. I was on the Westside High School speech team, and we held some of my practice sessions at the Student Center. Every day, starting with the first day of school, the Student Center was always open for students after school. I had planned to help Ms. Richardson at the Student Center this year because she always needed help. I was surprised and hurt when I came to the Student Center this month, only to learn that the Student Center wasn't open for the students. The library isn't open, and that's where at least 40 to 50 students every day do their homework. My main concern is that the Media Center, with about 30 computers, isn't being utilized for the students to do their homework, prepare for SATs, and other important activities. I have, from experience, learned that the Student Center, Media Center, librarian, Mr. Dodds, helped many students with work, college preparations, but he is not there no more. The library at the Student Center provided a substantial amount of resources for me when I was a senior last year. They gave college workshops, and they stayed on top of us about getting our paperwork in. The Student Center is a great facility, and the Media Center was a huge part of its success during the 2008-2009 school year, which is why I find it hard to believe that it's not open. A lot of students depend on the computers at the Student Center to do research and other assignments. Not only does it provide a place for students to come to refrain from the streets, it also allows for students to learn new things and plan for their future. As I started, the Student Center is too important to the high school students in Newark, which is why I'm speaking out today. As a matter of fact, the Student Center is the best thing that has ever happened to the students of Newark. Therefore, I would like to ask some questions. Since such a wonderful place as the Student Center was open last year, with all of the money that was spent on it, why didn't it open for students this year? Is the Student Center being ignored, or is there a plan to close it? Does the Norfolk Public Schools have a committee that I can join, or can start a committee to build the Student Center and make it even better than what it was last year? If it's possible, can I have some answers?
Mr. Weston, we are going to address the Student Center third Tuesday in October at our business meeting, we're going to invite Ms. Richardson as well as Mr. Holmes, because the Student Center is an extension of the extended day program, and we're going to ask some questions in regards to those issues. Some board member posed some questions at our last business meeting. You're welcome to come to that meeting. Okay, Mr. Weston?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Next speaker.
David James.
Good evening. My name is David James. I live at 49 Cliff Street, Newark, New Jersey. I'm a graduate of Westside High School, class of 2009, and I'm currently enrolled in Essex County College. I'm a proud supporter of the NPS Student Center, which brings me to my reason for attending this meeting. It has come to my attention that the Student Center is closed, and that's just unacceptable. The Student Center has been a great safe haven for young teens such as myself, and to deprive other kids of this fantastic program is just plain irresponsible. At the Student Center last year, I learned great moral values such as leadership, teamwork, independence, responsibility, and many more equally valuable assets that continue to help me even now while I'm in college. The Student Center is a great place for learning, teaching, and protecting our youth from the dangers of the streets. Let's face it, Newark is not the safest place to live, but it is improving. However, until it reaches a point of satisfactory, it would be reckless to take away such an influential place like the Student Center. Why can't kids in Newark keep nice things? I remember the day I first stepped into the Student Center. I was amazed that such a place could exist in Newark. It was the first time I had seen something so nice for us students. It is not right for something so promising to be taken away from the youth. I admit the Student Center is not perfect, but it is pretty close in my opinion. We need more positive places for kids in our society, not less. And just saying budget cuts or there isn't enough money is not acceptable as well, especially not when it comes to positive things for our kids and your responsibilities. We need more. I have a question now. Who made the decision not to open the Student Center in September? And what is the rationale behind this decision?
Mr. James and Mr. Weston, both of you have made comments in regards to the Student Center being closed. The Student Center is not closed. The Student Center will be open. It will be following the same program as Extended Day, which will be starting October 5th, at the Extended Day's first day back. Again, I invite you, Mr. James, to our business meeting, the third Tuesday of the month, 2 Cedar Street on the 10th floor. We will have discussions about them, but let me put this on the record because I've heard you say Student Center is closed. Student Center is not closed. And there's no one on this board that's going to support that because we realize the importance of this center, realizing that 60 to 100 students go there a day to participate in different programs, to socialize as well, to build relationships with other students from other schools. So that Student Center is not closed. What we will do, Mr. James, at that meeting, address those issues. There are some concerns, but again, this is not about money. This program will continue to run. We will address that with Mr. Holmes and Ms. Richardson. And I ask you to come to that meeting, and I ask you, as well as Mr. Weston, to continue to volunteer at that site. Thank you, Mr. James. Ms. White.
Again, to reiterate what Board Member Gonzalez said, President Gonzalez, is that the Student Center is not closed, but please let it be known that board members are aware of some of the, the casualties of budgets, and we are working tirelessly to make sure that the NPS Center is staffed properly and that you have the resources that you need to be safe. And we understand that. We know that it is a safe haven for you, so we're well aware of it. But thank you again for coming and speaking out and sharing the importance of the Student Center, and please continue to volunteer and stay involved.
Next speaker.
Gwendolyn Andrews.
Dr. Jennings, Advisory Board, and everyone gathered here tonight, good evening. I came tonight to thank Dr. Jennings, to applaud him, and salute him. You see, my name is Gwendolyn Andrews. I live 14 Crown Street in Bloomfield, New Jersey. I came to this district to help. I was a successful marketing person, earning good salary, and I heard the cry of the people saying that within their schools, in their classrooms, the A's had dropped out of school, the teachers taking plenty of leaves of absence, and their children wasn't properly being taught. I was qualified, so I came to help. I took a position as the per diem aide. That position had no health insurance or no pension. I left all of that in the corporate world. I thank you for today. The per diems do have health insurance and a pension. I thank you. Now I applaud you. I applaud you because 2 days before the school opened, I heard that there was a new procedure. As this new procedure was putting highly qualified aides in the classroom. I believe that inside that classroom was their early childhood, middle childhood. They should be taught with the qualified people. And it's a fact, because when I came, I worked at Hawthorne Avenue School under the principal of Rod Baraka, who came and built the morale of the staff up. Not only did that, but brought everyone together. I assist Denise Williams in a kindergarten class. I'm here to tell you, when they went to the first grade, they were reading on a third grade level. So qualification, qualified teachers, aides, and principal should be where a child is being educated. Now I applaud that. I came to salute you because me as a highly qualified person, the new procedure was not being adhered. So I came down to see why I was not being assigned, because I am highly qualified. I met with Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller asked some questions, and she went somewhere else and asked some questions. When I left out of there, I knew he made a wise choice because she is qualified. I also met
Miss. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Thank you, Ms. Andrews. That concludes our speakers. Board members, we now move to report from committees, from the committee chairs. Any reports? Being none, old or new business? Any old or new business? Being Mr. Lewis.
First of all, I wanted to ask the superintendent and Ms. White about the policy of the Parent Advisory Council. It's a policy that is posted on the site. I wanted to know how is the progress going with the Parent Advisory Council, who have been selected, have anyone been selected, and how are they being selected?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for your question. We are going to follow with the Parent Advisory Council. We're in the midst of planning for reviewing our school leadership council guidelines, but we are going to follow through on the Parent Advisory Council, following the guidelines set forth in the SLC guidelines.
Also, Ms. White, Dr. Miller, I wanted to ask to Ms. Williams, concerns, are we going to plan to try to deal with this problem of the lack of African American leadership in the North Ward?
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I wished I could have spoken up then. Dr. Janey actually asked Hill Warbay to do an assessment of the diversity in our leadership in all of our regions. And it was easy to recognize that we've got some work to do. And that's the good news, is that that's been recognized. And already, he's put us to the task of correcting that. So we're well aware of it, and I hope we're on our way to fixing it. Won't happen overnight, but we know what we're doing.
And Ms. Chair, my last question for Dr. White, Ms. White, is concerning the Abbotsford Act. As becoming the new Chief Academic Officer, do you have a plan on enforcing the Abbotsford Act in our schools? It was a bill that was passed by Congressman Payne and Assemblyman Stanley to enforce cultural education inside our classrooms.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Thank you, sir.
Just thank you, Mr. Lewis, for your questions. At Amistad, and it's passed by former Assemblyman Payne and former Assemblyman Stanley. Just to one question, I just want to piggyback on one thing. I don't want it to be seen that there's an issue in one respective ward. This is a citywide issue that we need to review diversity citywide. Okay? I just want to put that on the record, okay? Any other old or new business? Motion to adjourn.
Did we say?
I wanted to see if